She was a miracle worker and a star, showered in awards and some pretty big mysteries. The remarkable Patty Duke truly was one of a kind and went on to build a one-of-a-kind family that includes the brilliant Shawn Aston. But even that is shrouded in secrets, so just who is Shawn Aston's father? I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick, here to report that the answer is not completely straightforward and comes with a wild romance story fit for a film. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up to show your support, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a deep dive. But now, without further ado, come on and let's get to it. Where was Patty Duke born and raised?
The winner is Patty Duke and the Miracle Worker.
She would become a powerhouse of acting, with an Academy Award and 2 Golden Globes, proving her talent. But the start of Patty Duke's story wasn't a very glamorous one. It, in fact, was a nightmare. You see, Patty, who was born Anna Marie, had a dad who was an alcoholic, and her mom battled clinical depression, which sometimes resulted in actual violence. When Duke was just 6, her mom ordered her dad to leave the house, a blessing but one that came with a price. 2 years later, Patty was basically handed over to talent managers John and Ethel Ross. They were in the business of collecting kids who they could make into rising stars. The two had already worked with Patty's brother and wanted to work with a girl next. Sadly, this put Duke right in that high-profile nightmare a lot of child stars get thrown into. They gave her alcohol and drugs, took tons of money that she earned, and often lied about her age and experience. And even more worse, it's said they made physical advances too. Wanting to channel Patty McCormick, they renamed her Patty Duke. In their words, quote, "Anna Marie is dead." And Patty Duke may have felt that way too in such a dehumanizing prison, so she leapt at her first desperate means at escape. Who was Patty Duke's first husband? In 1965, Patty saw her escape when she married director Harry Falk Jr. This union immediately and fully severed ties between Patty and her abusive managers, John and Ethel Ross. But peel back the curtain, and even this salvation had problems. For one, Patty was all of 19, and at 32, Falk was 13 years older. During this relationship, Patty took up drinking a lot, suffered from severe mood swings, overdosed on pills, and became anorexic. The marriage lasted 4 years, and by 1969, they split. How many husbands did Patty Duke Aston have? In total, Patty would marry 4 times and have several boyfriends, sometimes at the same time. One was Desi Arnaz Jr., the son of the legendary Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz Sr., but back when Desi Jr. was all of 17. And if you're curious about his own difficult journey, we do have a video all about him you can check out.
I have been yours since the day I first saw you riding side saddle on a buffalo.
Her other beau was the spooky Gomez Addams himself, John Aston, 16 years her senior and very much married. Though they kept that as quiet as possible until John's eventual divorce. Thrown into the mix was music promoter Michael Tell, who was subletting her apartment. Tell would be called, quote, "a total stranger" for how little they knew each other outside of the horseplay. Surprise, it's a boy. You are pregnant. This kind of pushed the fast forward button on the wedding plans, and she ended up getting married to that total stranger. Marrying Michael Tell to tap down on the potential scandal. This shotgun wedding lasted a grand total of 13 days before they split. Down the line, Patty's affair with Aston manifested into a 1972 wedding. Patty had her kid on February 25th, 1971. But the question on the media's mind was, who is the father to baby Shawn? Patty stuck to the idea that Shawn was John Aston's kid, and for his part, John adopted the kid and raised him as his own with his surname. But the mystery wasn't ever really settled, and the uncertainties stuck around for quite a long time. Then Patty and John split up in 1985, and finally we got husband number 4, Michael Pierce. a drill sergeant she met when filming A Time to Triumph, Pierce serving as a consultant, and now this was more like a love story. Even though Shawn had no blood relation to him, and Pierce wasn't even a contender as his biological father, Shawn once said of Michael Pierce and Duke's relationship, quote, "The true story of her life isn't her work, and it isn't her advocacy. It's the love relationship she's had with her husband Mike for the last 30 years. Who is Shawn Astin's biological father? Patty, Shawn, and all the fatherly candidates were the center of a huge debate. Young Desi's mom, the groundbreaking Lucille Ball, was very vocal about hating their relationship, and this put that relationship under a huge spotlight, which in turn put the mystery of Shawn's paternity in the public spotlight too. The favorite theory among a lot of people was that Desi Arnaz Jr. was the dad. It was at one point Patty's go-to theory as well, so much so that when Shawn was a teen, Patty sat him down and had a big confession that his biological father was Desi, and Patty Duke took this claim with her to her autobiography. Shawn Astin accepted this claim and went on to pursue a friendship with Desi. It went on for years until more long-lost relatives threw a wrench in the plan. A family member of Michael Tell approached Shawn and told him they were, in fact, blood-related. This little revelation came to light when Shawn was 26, and so into adulthood, he decided to get to the bottom of this once and for all. Shawn took a DNA test along with the three candidates, Tell, Arnaz, and Astin, and Shawn found out Desi Arnaz Jr. was, in fact, not his father. It was Michael Tell after all, completely disproving the two big claims Patty's autobiography made, that her marriage to Tell was never consummated, and John Astin was Shawn's biological dad, also disproving when she told Shawn Desi was the dad. This was a huge, definitive answer, but Shawn was ready with the perfect outlook to all the madness. He said, quote, "If you want to know who I am, John Astin is my father. Michael Tell is my biological father, and all three of these men stayed in Shawn's life and continues to. As they say at the end of the day, John Astin is his dad by the role he played since Shawn was a kid." How did Patty Duke get sepsis?
In 1982, I was diagnosed as manic depressive.
Now Patty, who was plagued her whole life with manic depression, was not so won over by the DNA test, saying, quote, "I don't buy that test. When God looks me in the eye and says, 'Anna Marie, you have been mistaken all these years,' then I will consider Tell's paternity." It wasn't the first time Patty had given Shawn a hard time. Shawn, out of all his siblings, was the target of her volatile mood. Shawn would liken her moods to being a werewolf, not at all herself at times, always trying to make up for it right after. Because of her battle with bipolar disorder, Patty would go on to be a mental health advocate later in life, laying a foundation that Shawn would proudly take up when her light went out. As Shawn has explained it, quote, "One of the reasons I feel so good about being able to pick up her mantle and talk about bipolar disorder and mental health awareness, and destigmatizing the conversation, is that it's empowering for me. And despite all these complicated emotions, despite getting saddled with a family mystery he had no answers for, despite being on the receiving end of violent mood swings and physical destruction, Shawn Astin was right there with his traumatized mother at the end of her life. When Patty was 69, her intestine ruptured, resulting in sepsis, and the great Patty Duke was surrounded by family when she passed away on March 29, 2016. She was a warrior. Other people got swept up in this warrior's messy campaign to just find a bit of peace in this loud, messy world. But she gave her son the tools to rise above and seek a better future, even when his past was murky. Patty Duke, thank you for the memories. John Astin, we love you, and Shawn Astin, boy do we love you too. So, what was your favorite performance by the great Patty Duke? Did you watch her Patty Duke show? Or what about The Miracle Worker? Get in the comments and tell me your favorite Patty Duke project, and who should we cover next? If you enjoyed our deep dive today, please give it a thumbs up to help it circulate. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new video. But most importantly, from all of us here at Do You Remember, I want to thank you very much for watching.